CHGO White Sox podcast, coming to you live from Studio A of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, Vinnie Duber, our CHGO White Sox beat writer, the man in the middle, Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
Follow him at Ecknerwall23. You can follow Vinnie at Vinnie Duber. You can follow me at Sean_W_Anderson. You can follow the show at CHGO_White Sox. We're being produced today by Kevin Wells.
What's up, boys?
Apparently Green Day's biggest fan.
Love Green Day.
Bigger than me?
I guess.
We're going to have a fight about it, Kevin?
You didn't drive up till Milwaukee for
That's
it.
true. I mean, I saw them in Arizona.
How many times
That's
have you seen them live?
much farther away.
You've seen them how many times have you seen them live? Once? Twice?
Yeah, once.
Ooh.
Kevin's
One
seen
time.
them.
Beat? Twice?
Kevin's seen them twice.
How many vinyl records of theirs do you have?
Yeah, you got me. I
Ooh.
got one. I got
Take
American
that.
Idiot. I got American Idiot and vinyl. That's it. I'm sure you have more than that.
I've got three.
American Idiot
I've got
on
Dookie.
vinyl.
I've got Dookie, Nimrod, and Warning.
Yeah, nice.
Need Insomniac
You know,
to complete the quartet.
I also have American Idiot, but it's on CD because I had it in 2004. Why? I mean, vinyl for that is weird.
Why?
I mean, he has
I don't
vinyl
know.
for
I have a
most
record
things.
player.
Yeah.
No, but I'm just saying, well, Kevin has the vinyl of American Idiot, but I don't know. I mean, it's like, they were putting out vinyl. I was around in 2004.
So you
there was no
think that I
vinyls
should
in
still have a
2004.
working CD player
Yes.
just to be era appropriate every time?
Yeah.
So I should only play music that's released now via streaming.
Yeah,
To buy a record of it, it makes
Well,
no
I mean,
sense.
now they put it out on vinyl.
Why can't I have both? I have both.
Why not have
I'm
both?
not saying. I'm not trying to yuck any
Okay.
Anyways,
All right.
this is not what the show's about. Hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We appreciate Drake for joining us in the chat. Let the manager search begin. Hoping we can get an actual search this time, unlike the GM search. If you have any thoughts, make sure you share them in the comment section. We'll be able to read those throughout the show. On today's show, we'll be talking about Nicky Lopez's experience with the 2024 team and tales from Vinny within the clubhouse on what it was like from other players to play for the 2024 team. Then we will jump into the AL Central teams in the playoffs, how we would think they will do in their certain matchups. And then finally, we will talk a little bit about what is next for the Sox, what is the big to-do list, what you can really hone in on, the big events that will be coming up throughout the offseason over the next 6 months?
Like 4?
Is it?
Spring training starts around
February?
Valentine's Day.
Oh, wow,
I mean,
okay.
it's baseball doesn't give you a short off season, but I don't think it'll be feeling short in mid-December for us. But still,
No, it's a beautiful day out too. It doesn't feel like winter. So I'm gonna take all of these days before it's like cold and there's no baseball and we just have to wait like days until football.
the baseball calendar looks like this: about a month and a half of spring, 6 months of summer, 1 month of fall, and then the rest is winter. So today technically for the White Sox is winter.
Enjoy it. Hey, and like you were saying, most of them are going to Cancun,
Oh, yeah.
especially Luis Robert Jr.
Enjoy yourselves because it's going to be common for the next couple years.
All
I mean,
right.
this is the winter starts early for the White Sox.
Yes, it does. Did you get Nicky Lopez's vacation plans?
We discussed them.
Oh, okay.
There's no need
Oh,
to
all
discuss
right.
them
Yeah,
on
for
the
sure.
show, but yeah,
I'm
we
surprised
discussed
that
them.
you did. Okay, all right. Well, enjoy Nicky Lopez. All right. Vinny did type this up at allchgo.com as well. You could go read the article where Nicky spoke about the experiences of playing on the 121 loss team. Also for diehards, you have Vinny's experience of covering the 120 loss team. So go check that out over at allchgo.com. But let's hear from second baseman Nicky Lopez on his thoughts of playing with the 121 loss team and what the actual record means for a player on the team.
That's what it's about. It's about wins and losses. It's about, how can we win ball games, and when you win games, things are a little bit less amplified. Things are a little bit less. People start worrying about how can we win instead of the numbers but once you start losing, the outside noise creeps in. It's not more. People put a little bit added pressure on each other and on themselves, and kind of go down that path of not the way that you really want it to go. But everything when you're winning, everything's sweeter, everything's better, everything's just you come to the ballpark and you win a baseball game. You're celebrating after the game. I mean, it's hard to win in the big leagues, but these losses that are so close that we could have won, could have turned it. those hurt a lot because of the guys that we have in the clubhouse, because of the relationships we have. All that it's been pretty tough.
Is there a part of you guys that is like, this is, if you guys get to that record-setting number, I mean, it's going to be sitting at the top of the record book,
Yeah.
Is that something that you think to yourself, man, it sucks to be associated with that kind of thing?
I mean, we haven't really talked about it, obviously. You don't really want to talk about that. We had a lot of guys come in through the clubhouse. We've had a lot of change, a lot of moving parts. But yeah, I mean, obviously we know that if it would be the 2024 White Sox. But also, you look at it, and we're not too far off. You look at what the Royals did. I was part of that team when we lost 100 games, and then they built around some guys. They spent some money, and they look at them now. Yeah. So it's not that you look around here. You got Crochet, and you got a good Cannon, and you got some guys down in the minors that I can throw a little bit from the left side. It's like you add those guys, and then you add a couple other pieces around, Louis, and never know what can happen. So it happens so quick, but it's just one of those things. It's like we're in an unfortunate position, and we can't take it back. So it kind of is what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. At the beginning,
unfortunately,
in spring, beginning of the season, you guys really had your sights on kind of playing a certain way, right?
Yeah.
Fast, aggressive, fundamental, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Why do you think that materialized? Wins and losses independent. Why do you think something like that never materialized?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was the environment was a little different. We had a good spring training. It was a pretty busy spring training. A lot of work and a lot of stuff like that. But when we got here, I don't know, I guess maybe just the losses kind of piled up, and it kind of got a little bit, I guess, old, so to speak, and it was just a tough environment, and then those added up, and we couldn't make up for that. But it was one of those things. It's like we didn't expect that out of spring training, just because of the guys that we had. It's been a great clubhouse in here. Like we really do enjoy each other, and we like coming to the ballpark to hang with each other, and on trips and stuff like that. But then I said earlier, it's not due to the lack of effort. We come here and we work our tail off to get better, and we just seem like we're falling short, unfortunately, and it's. It's been tough because we want to win baseball games.
Fans, as I'm sure will not surprise you, you've been a fan before. Yeah. You probably felt the same way. Mm-hmm. They hear all the talk about how good the clubhouse has been all year long, right? We keep telling them about it. Yep. You guys keep answering about it, and they go, well, but so they didn't win, right?
Exactly.
Can you say why that's so important? As someone who's been in a lot of major league clubhouses, why is it so important to have a good one?
I guess there's been clubhouses that aren't good, but their record shows 100 win seasons, and they get to the playoffs and they lose. Like it's just like it's stuff like that. It's like, well, our clubhouse is really good. It's not like we're at each other's neck every single time we're in here. We're not pushing and shoving each other. We're not people are coming in and handling their work. But yeah, I mean, obviously wins and losses are a thing, but it's just, like I said, there's been teams that may not have a good clubhouse, and they're done in October too. Like, you know what I mean? So it's, they have all the best guys in the world, and they don't get it done. So it's just baseball. It's crazy how it works, but I guess it helps going to the ballpark every single day if you have a good clubhouse. You don't really dread it. You don't really, and I don't know if you can ask a couple of guys in here. I don't know if they dread coming to the ballpark, even with our loss record, which I guess is a positive you could take away from a tough season. I'm one of those guys that always just tries to take a positive away from anything. Obviously, it's a little tougher to take positives away from the record that we have, but that is one positive, is that I do truly enjoy everybody in here. And then when you get on the field, even if it is, more 30, whatever, and 100, just respect the game, play the game hard. I try to do that. I try to hold myself accountable to that. Just, bust my ass anytime I can. that's the least you can do.
You're from here. You know White Sox fans. You know White Sox fans your whole life. What is it that White Sox fans, and especially currently frustrated White Sox fans, maybe just don't know about what's going on inside, the things they can't see on TV kind of thing? Like, it doesn't even necessarily make them happy, but what's maybe one thing that they don't know about the way the White Sox work?
Yeah, I mean, something they don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's the thing about White Sox fans is they're not dumb. They're not, they know and they see everything. Obviously, sometimes they could be hostile, which is good. You want a hostile crowd against the opposing team, but also they'll let you know if you're slack and if you're not playing hard. So the best I can say is just that it's not due to the lack of effort. It may be sometimes we're outmanned, or that guy's better on the mound than we are hitting most days, and it's stuff like that. But it's not due to the lack of effort. We want to come here and we want to win. We're super competitive in here. But I truly do believe, like I said, with being in that Royals clubhouse, I don't think we're that far off here. Just given the talent and some of these young guys that are coming up, I think we are closer than maybe the everyday fan might think.
Woohoo! We're not dumb. Thanks, Nikki. I appreciate that. We aren't dumb. We understand what's going on. So we can look at that loss record and say, it's a lot of losses, So thanks, Nikki. What did you guys make of that? I think obviously the biggest part that we're going to, end up turning this into our second segment about the AL Central. He obviously has experience of being in that Royals clubhouse, and they obviously made a big change from basement dwellers to playoff contenders. So what was the biggest takeaway, at least from the clubhouse portion of Nikki's talk there?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me it was just kind of what it was like in there, and I think you've been hearing it all year long. I'm not sure there was anything too terribly new that came out of that, but the idea that right up till the end there, when they were quite literally setting a new record for the most losses anybody's ever had, it wasn't a bad environment. It was a good environment. I mean, they really liked each other and liked working with each other. I think you did get a little bit in some of Nikki's answers there about kind of admitting that they were maybe overmatched on a pretty regular basis, which is something that, the three of us don't have to ever hide. But if you're a competitor, that's a tough thing to admit, right? And so I think that these guys, like he was explaining there, he really wanted to hammer home. They all really wanted to hammer home that, like, we're not mailing this in. We're not winning, but we're not mailing it in. And I think for the most part, probably most fans don't really care about the difference of those two things, but there is a difference. And I think that if the White Sox are going to do something, if you want to point to one thing that Chris Getz was able to do at the major league level this year, it's cultural stuff, right? And it's the idea that in a year or less, really, because it started at the beginning of this season, in less than a year, they went from a clubhouse that needed to be rapidly dismantled at the trade deadline because it was so dysfunctional to, hey, this team can weather anything, including losing 121 times. So, again, it doesn't necessarily make anybody feel better, probably, in the fan community, but it is something. It is an accomplishment, and credit to these guys for not ever mailing it in or dreading coming to the office, even though most days, a lot of days, almost every day was a bad day at the office.
I mean, he comes from the Royals. He was on their team a couple of years ago, I think earlier in last year. So he knows a 100-loss team, and we were talking about it last year. I looked it up last year in September, and we're talking about, who's the better player? Who would you rather start a team with, Luis Robert or Bobby Witt Jr.? And, of course, Bobby Witt Jr. has won that conversation so far. So he knows that it's not that far away, but different plans for the Royals from what the White Sox did. And as Vinny said, their clubhouse is good. A few tweaks here and there. Now, they won't be the Royals. They can be respectable, not a 121-loss team like they are today. So that's what I take. Like, he's a sensible, knowledgeable guy. We had him on in spring training. I will root for the guy, but his presence and the how many starts he gets shows me the level at where the White Sox are at. Because if Nicky Lopez is getting all the starts that he's getting on your team, your team is probably not that good.
And leading off, too.
A lot.
I mean, that was his most frequent position in the lineup. We have to take a break. Then we'll talk about the AL Central teams and their playoff matchups. We first want to let you know about our friends over at Chevy. If you're in the market for a bigger vehicle, find savings to match at Ray Chevrolet this September because Truck and SUV Month is going on now. Head in today to shop their huge selection of new Chevy models at new low prices. Right now, you could take up to $3,000 to $12,000 off MSRP on most new Chevy models, or cruise into fall your own way and shop over 125 of their vehicles priced under $20,000. As one of the top-selling Chevy dealers in the Midwest, you'll always be able to shop one of Chicagoland's largest Chevy inventories. So visit our partner this September at their location on Route 12 in Fox Lake or at raychevrolet.com. And if you've heard of Ray Chevrolet, then you've also heard of their Raise Price Promise, their guarantee to make your next vehicle more affordable than ever with no price changing, no add-ons, and no hidden fees ever. That means the incredible prices that we're talking about now, you can expect to see the same when you shop Ray Chevy in-store or online. So shop Truck and SUV Month all month long by visiting Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or raychevrolet.com. They've been serving the community since 1963. Together, let's drive.
With Empire Today, you get shop-at-home convenience and the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring, so of course they got copycats. But Empire cannot be beat on quality, service, speed, so competitors advertise low-quality products that Empire simply won't carry. They keep shopping for floors simple with a curated product selection. Empire's philosophy is to help you find what you need and not overwhelm you with thousands of choices and substitutes. What they leave out of their selection is as important as what they put in. Empire's product team exhaustively combs through thousands of product samples each year to find the perfect styles. And shopping for floors at a big box store can be frustrating. You might talk to someone today who was working in plumbing yesterday. Flooring is all Empire Today does. They live and breathe flooring, so you can be confident you're getting the honest, upfront advice. They also pride themselves on their convenient shop-at-home service. They help customers shop for floors where they use their floors so they can see exactly what their new floors will look like in their home, lighting and decor, so they can make informed decisions. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code CHGO. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/CHGO for details. 580-2300 Empire Today. Thank you, Lynn.
Well done, Herb.
That was Lynn.
Nice solo. Oh, good job,
R.I.P.
Lynn. All right. Let's look ahead to the upcoming playoffs. The NL playoff side is a little messy. They're still figuring things out, who's going to play who. But the AL side...
that senior circuit.
Yes. Oh, those old men. But the AL Central, or the AL side, has 3 AL Central teams in, and that side is all set. Detroit will be taking on Houston in a wild card series. Baltimore will be taking on Kansas City in the first 2 wild card series. Guardians and Yankees getting the byes. What do we make of Detroit versus Houston and Baltimore versus Kansas City? You got Tariq Skubal and Framber Valdez in the Game 1 Tiger Astro matchup, and then Cole Reagans versus Corbin Burns in Game 1 of the Baltimore at Kansas City matchup. So let's probably start with Kansas City since we were just talking about them. I think we know what we can gain from the Royals come up, right? I think we've talked about that. Have Bobby Witt Jr., but also, let's flesh out the R&D a little bit, and let's get somebody in the clubhouse. I know that you were a little pushbacking on this before, but let's get somebody in the clubhouse who can read and, talk to these players about the data that they're receiving. So how did the White Sox become the Royals, even though we wanted to get away from that earlier this year?
Well, yeah, right. But, I think, let's put it this way. You had Nicky Lopez talking about how it might not be far off for the White Sox to get to where the Royals have gotten to, and what a turnaround it's been for the Royals. The Royals lost 106 games last season. That's why any player can look at a team and go, oh, team that was just one of the worst teams in baseball is now in the playoffs. Obviously, these guys are going to say stuff like that because they want to be on a winner, right? And I think you heard it from other players too. Garrett Crochet said something similar about how, they might not be far off. Look at these guys they've got. They're happy with some of the players in the clubhouse. I would push back on that because the White Sox aren't going to do this offseason what the Royals did last offseason. The Royals did what you were talking about, kind of a checklist in order to get to where the Royals are right now. The White Sox can do one of those things or two of those things if they hire the right manager, right? But a lot of the Royals' ascendance this year is due to the fact that J.J. Picollo went out there and was aggressive in the offseason in bringing players in, reshaping that starting rotation and adding players kind of all over the roster to really boost them up. Yeah, they had Bobby Witt Jr., and Bobby Witt Jr. has remained one of the 3 best players in baseball this year. But, you need a whole roster, and the Royals did a good job of going out, going into free agency, going out during the trade deadline, going out even after that on the waiver wire, and bringing guys in that could help them. The White Sox, as we know, don't really seem to be planning a very aggressive offseason. They don't seem to be planning ahead for a year in which they think they could make that kind of jump. And I'm talking about from the top. The front office doesn't seem to be planning for that type of scenario. So while you can point to some of the guys that the White Sox have on the big league roster currently, particularly on the pitching side, and say, oh, wow, that could be a good rotation, or a rotation that gets you close to the playoffs if everything goes your way. You got to have the front office going out there and supplementing that with other players from the outside, which is what the Royals did, which is why the Royals are where they are right now. So I don't know if that jump, I really have to guess. I think we can all say with confidence that jump is unlikely to happen for the White Sox because they've already telegraphed what their offseason is going to look like.
For these two teams, the Tigers and the Royals, which team do I think is more suited to win their short 3-game series? It's the Royals. They have a bigger and longer depth chart. Like, they're throwing out Cole Reagan's first game, and then they can go with multiple starting pitchers.
They already have it laid out. It's going to be, Seth Lugo in game 2 and then Walker game 3.
I mean, those 3 pitchers are major league starters at the top of the rotation. You look at the Tigers. They have the AL Cy Young in Tarek Skubal, 100%, but he can only pitch one of those games. Then you're going to be getting some really bad pitchers in the starting rotation. So that's why I think if they don't get game 1, they're going to be having 2 games, and that's it, and going right back home. But also, this is for the Tigers, I think, is found money, as they did at the trade deadline. They traded away their players. They were sellers. They were like, all right, Flaherty, we don't need you because we're not going to be trying to compete this year. Go somewhere else. We'll have you on the Dodgers. We'll pick up some pieces we'll need for the future. And then they just went crazy and wins. As we talked about on this show, I think when the White Sox were playing the Tigers in the second half, I was like, that team is really nothing. Like, there's nothing there. Like, there's decent hitters, and Kerry Carpenter and Torque has come back from the minors, has done something, but there's nothing there. And I think once they play the Houston Astros, I'll be rooting for the Tigers 100% because I can't root for the Astros ever. But I think it's going to be a short series for them. Now, the Royals, with those 3 starting pitchers, with Bobby Witt Jr., Salvi Perez, et cetera, down the line.
It's at home.
They can make some noise. They can do some things there. Yeah, exactly. It's at home. They can actually do some things, and I think they can win that series. I think they should be favored in that series.
That's in Baltimore. That series in Baltimore.
It says at Kansas City.
No, they should be in Baltimore because Baltimore's the number 1 seed,
yeah.
I think, of the wild cards.
You're right, but ESPN for some reason says at.
They messed up on the in the playoff game today, or the 162 game today, also, and telling that Kansas City was going to be playing the Astros, but
might be not at home.
But I would say the Royals actually have kind of a shot to advance to the second round, get it out of this wild card. I'll be shocked if the Tigers win 1 game, much less the whole series.
The thing that the Tigers got going for them is momentum. They are probably the hottest team in the playoffs, or at least in the AL side right now. And Herb, everything you said about the Tigers, the idea of looking at that roster, looking at that lineup on a daily basis and not being impressed is very true. But boy, have they made it work. Yes, and if there's anything I think that White Sox fans and fans in the AL Central in general have learned from playoff-bound AL Central teams, particularly those Cleveland Guardians, is that if you can hit on a formula, it can take you a long way, even if it's not setting you up for a roster that makes you look like world beaters. So I think the Detroit Tigers are probably a team. I don't think that it's all gravy for them right now. I think they've got a shot. That being said, they're playing a team that knows everything about winning this time of year. And so I don't think you could ever bet against the Astros in terms of them succeeding in October because they know how to do it. And while they still got a lot of the guys who have done it already in Bregman and Alvarez and the like, that pitching matchup's fantastic, by the way, Skubal and Valdez. But I think the Astros probably got it, but don't count the Tigers out because momentum is certainly a thing. I think on the Royals side, the thing they've got going for them is that the Orioles have not been the Orioles team that everybody thought they were going to be. Granted, the Royals are still playing at a disadvantage on paper probably, but are the Orioles really scary with the way they've been playing? I mean, literally like the whole second half of the season? Maybe not now. Corbin Burns, that's a different story because he is scary.
Right, and especially in that ballpark too. I mean, you're just really going to take out any right-handed power. And Adley's been surprisingly bad, and I know Gunnar was off to like an extremely hot start and was in the AL MVP category, but I don't know. Now you're finally at the postseason. You get to lock in. I think Baltimore's fairly dangerous, and
they got swept out of the first round last year.
Literally, I was thinking about
but you live and you learn. Yeah, babies then. Jackson Holliday was only 19.
He wasn't even playing with them.
He wasn't even born.
I'll be rooting for him because you know me. I don't like the Royals, but I don't see them. I mean, if either one of those teams win, I wouldn't be surprised.
Before we get to that, let's get to Jared's super chat. I missed that earlier, so we appreciate Jared for the super chat. A consistent diehard, always furthering the community in the Discord. So we appreciate Jared for the super chat. It's saying that it's his 5th super chat as well. So appreciate it, Jared. Saying huge shout out to you guys for your work and effort over the season. Thanks for all the content and engagement. And he signed it, CHGO 2024 Click to Pick champion. Is that correct?
That is correct.
He's
won.
the champion.
He won the Battle of the Champions the last couple weeks. So I mean,
that's why there was like 15 people.
Yeah,
in
theoretically, him and AJ have the same amount, but Jared won the championship for everybody. I mean, if we're talking about people who have won the whole thing, Vinny won it like every other week.
Oh, I didn't even know that, but excellent.
Yeah,
congratulations.
Thank you. For a peek behind the curtain, Herb texts us, texted, it's the offseason now, every day with the lineup and what the standings were and who we were competing against from the diehard community.
And their point value, each player's point value.
And so that last week, or I think it was the last two weeks, right, where there were 4 diehards competing. The texts were, "Here's the lineup. 4 players are gone already. Have good luck picking from what's left."
I got immediately screwed yesterday because I needed 9 points to win, and then someone took Jacob Amaya immediately. So I had to go with Benny at the
just
end.
For pride,
didn't even put him in as a pinch hitter. Well, he had to get the 21st homer, right? And also. Can you scroll up just a little bit? I think I missed one.
Yeah.
Anyways, no, I didn't. My bad.
No, I was in the super chat. Yep.
Yeah, the only other thing I wanted to get to was Grumpy Pig and Friend saying the White Sox don't have the talent the Royals do, which is fair. They don't have a Bobby Witt, nor the farm system, which I would push back on. Their best prospect is Caglione, who the White Sox could have drafted. I mean, they had that spot, right? Caglione went 6, right?
Correct.
So, I mean, you could have had that shot. I don't know. I think the Sox farm system is in a decent spot. It's just truly they spent $100 million on their actual major league roster, and we're not going to see that from the Sox this offseason. But to you, Herb, which team if you had to pick an AL Central team, Tigers, Royals, Guardians, who would you want to see have success this offseason?
Tigers out of those 3, yes.
Just because of Benetti?
Benetti's not going to do any of the games. So it's just my ranking of teams I dislike in the AL Central. Of course, the White Sox are on the top of that list. Then it's the Twins. Then it's the Royals, Guardians, then the Tigers. I don't necessarily dislike the Tigers, which I should. They've had fights with the White Sox, and they've done things where I'm like, forget the Tigers. But so many times the Tigers are just the 5th place team usually. And now the White Sox are going to be taking that spot for the next couple years. But I like the Tigers story. They were sellers, and now that they're in the playoffs, it's a good story. I don't see them doing anything further. But out of those 3 teams, 100% the Tigers. And I will be rooting for the Tigers in the first round, unlike the Royals. And then when the Guardians play one of these teams, I'll be rooting against them too.
I know Hunter Brown's been a little bit better in the second half, but I mean, Reese Olson's the second game starter for the Tigers in game 2.
Enjoy.
If you get to the DS, maybe you start throwing Jackson Jobe, their phenom in the second round.
The other teams are like, delicious. I know Jackson Jobe's a big time high prospect, whatever, but on playoff teams, they'll be like, oh, rookie pitching the first time. I know that's kind of an advantage for the pitcher because they haven't seen him. There's no book on him, but also the lights are going to be bright.
Yeah. All right, let's take a break. We're going to let you know about our good friends over at Shady Rays and Blue Chew. Vinny, let them know how they can protect their eyes.
I can tell you. Well, here's what I'm going to do first is I'm going to show you.
Your Shady Rays. I mean, look how spiffy we look.
Oh, so
the best
spiffy.
part is, whether you're wearing brown like Vinny or black like me, they have colors to fit every style.
It's very true, Sean. And get ready for the season ahead. We started the show by telling you that it was winter, but it's not. It's beautiful outside. It's perfect sunglasses weather. And so you're going to need these quality shades that are built to last. Our friends over at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that will not break that bank. Shady Rays, why do I keep saying Shady Raids? That's not right. Shady Rays.
You're doing a Shady Rays read.
That's true. Is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by more than 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures. They have hundreds of options to choose from, so you're bound to find the perfect pair to match your style. They probably, definitely have a style in your team's favorite colors. So, when I'm up in Wisconsin, for example, as I was just talking about the other day, going camping by the shores of Lake Michigan, gets a little bright, gets a little glistening off of that lake. You got to go ahead and pop on the Shady Rays to make sure that your eyes don't get hurt. Plus, if your shades ever go missing or take an unexpected hit, don't sweat it. They have the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair is backed by lost or broken replacements. If you don't love your shades, exchange them for a new pair or return them worry-free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back with personal and fast support. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head on over to shadyrays.com and use the code CHGO for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try them for yourself. They're the shades rated 5 stars by more than 300,000 people.
Thank you, Vinny. We also want to let you know about our friends over at Blue Chew. They say first impressions are important, but what about lasting impressions? That's where Blue Chew comes in. Blue Chew helps you boost your confidence in the best bedroom so you could stay hard and perform at your very best. Does Blue Chew work? If you're asking that question, we want you to know that Blue Chew is putting their money where their mouth is by giving you a month free. Blue Chew is an online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost and in chewable form. The process is simple. Just sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive the prescription within days. Blue Chew tablets are made in the USA, prepared and shipped directly to your door, and the best part is it's all done online. There's no visits to the doctor, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. You could take them day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arrives. And again, if you're wondering, does it work? Do you think you don't need it? You could try it for a month and see. You're going to love it, and your partner's going to love it too. We have a special deal for our listeners. You could try Blue Chew free when you use promo code ALLCITY at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code ALLCITY to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast. All right. Jim Cook providing a hate list. Guardians at 1, Twins at 2, Tigers at 3, Royals at 4. And then Jared also sharing that the Twins just take up the first 4 spots and the Guardians are at 5. I do think there is a certain annoying quality to the Guardians that I would put them at 1. And then the Twins, it makes me smile a little bit.
Oh, my God.
That they cut their payroll. And I understand it's because Bally's left. And, TV money is important to these teams. But also, you make billions. You just got $30 million from the BAMTech thing, right? So, I don't know. I don't love when teams cut back salary, so it's kind of their comeuppance.
And I love it that they got caught up by the Tigers and passed by and have to sit at the house like the White Sox and watch the playoffs. It's nothing better than when the Twins get to sit at the house. All those extra wins for what? Just to be the same place the White Sox are? Enjoy that, Twins. Now the Guardians.
Byron Buxton and Luis Robert Jr. are going to be going pontooning in Cancun.
I wish I disliked the Guardians. I just respect them. Like, their team is how a team should be built if you're not aiming to spend a bunch of money in free agency. They saw a superstar. They Didn't lowball him, but he signed a hometown discount in Jose Ramirez to stay there. He could have got much more money, and he's a superstar. Naylor, they developed this talent like Jimenez, Naylor, all the people in the outfield when it's just like they're interchangeable. They can just bring in new dude in, and he's going to be good. The Noel guys, the Gonzalez of past, which used to be the Franimal. So they could just get different people. Miles Straw's gone. Now they got a new center fielder. It's just every year they're different. And Stephen Kwan has turned into a guy that I think, Stephen Kwan, and now he's an all-star? Mercy. I just respect the hell out of them. They lost Shane Bieber at the beginning of the year. Like, cool. We're good.
And Tristan McKenzie's been bad.
Yeah.
Like, it throws like 89 now.
Yeah. And then they probably have the actual best pitcher in baseball on their team. You don't believe that?
No.
Why not?
He's thrown like, what, 60 innings?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was looking back at
you got to save in every single one of those appearances.
Cool. I saw in 2002, 2003, I was just looking back at old Cy Youngs, and it's like, I know Gagne was so cool. Gagne never blew a save, but it's like Mark Pryor had like 3 times the WAR. Like, I don't know. It's just truly based on one guy is throwing 67 innings. One guy's throwing 200 innings. The guy throwing 200 innings still has like a 2-something ERA. I think that's 100% more impressive than closer did his job 67 times out of 67 times.
It's a hell of a weapon to have, though.
Yeah, it is.
I think if I were trying to win the World Series, I'd want to have Emmanuel Clase.
That's why they make Rolaids Relief Man of the Year.
You're one of those people who doesn't think relievers should win the Cy Young.
They could.
Like, do you think?
Like, I mean, because
I'm one of those
probably
people,
a lousy starting pitcher.
Because I'm one of the people who thinks that starting pitcher or reliever shouldn't win MVPs because they don't play every day. I know they have more of an effect on everyday things than a position player would because they have the ball every 5th day.
What if I told you, though, Herb, that the guy that just hit 50-50 also pitches?
He does.
So, I mean would you discount, would the pitching part be included in his MVP case?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, well, I'm just saying.
I don't know. Last year when he was doing his
thing. If pitchers
thing,
can't win the MVP, does that hurt his case?
Yes, he's the exception because there's no one else doing what he's doing. When they're good, like Hunter Green was drafted as a hitter/pitcher, like, stop that. Stop hitting immediately. You're a pitcher. That's why Shohei's thing is just so impressive because once you get to this league, that Jack Caglione will not be both. I guarantee by the time he hits the major leagues, they're like, nope.
There's no talk of him being both.
Yeah, exactly. You're a hitter. And that's why Shohei Ohtani's just ridiculous because, firstly, he's that good. He's a top 10 pitcher, top 20 pitcher, and the best hitter.
Technically, let's play this game. Who is more valuable? Eric Fetty with the White Sox or Emmanuel Clase by F4?
I will say by the context of the question that the answer is Eric Fetty.
Wow, you were very smart. Eric Fetty, 2.6 WAR. Emmanuel Clase, 2.3.
Didn't he have like a 5 WAR for this year total?
Fetty?
Like either 5 B WAR or 5 F WAR.
But like also
3.5 F WAR.
But like also, that's silly.
What?
Like obviously a guy who was the second best starting pitcher on the worst team in baseball is not as good as the best closer in the game.
I know, but why does the 9th inning matter? I mean, what if you had a guy that came in the 7th inning every single time, 67 times, and had a 0 ERA? Should he be given the Cy Young?
I mean, 67 times, he never gives up a run. That's pretty good.
It's pretty good, but he's like, you're talking about, Adam Ottavino here.
And I get what you're saying. Like, the 9th inning is just another inning, but we've seen dudes go into that 9th inning and become pumpkins. And like, oh, the 8th inning, I got that. 9th inning, oh my God, that's tough.
Yeah, if you actually have that opinion of the 9th inning doesn't matter, then all you're doing is watching a spreadsheet, not actually watching the game.
Well, I mean,
that's
you
true.
guys know I watch games.
No, I know.
I know, but like,
you're
I'm
just
not trying
posing a question, which is a very valid one. I'm just saying, like, there is that thought, right? That there are plenty of people out there who are like, you should only be throwing your closer when you're facing the 4, 5, and 6 hitter, and if that's the 5th inning, then whatever. But it's just been shown that there are some guys who can go out and dominate the last 3 outs of the game, and there are guys who can't do it at all. And it's weird and it's inexplicable, but it is.
And Clase is dominant, so
yes.
I'm not trying to say anything otherwise. Yeah. Eric Fetty, 5.6 B WAR this year. His career B WAR, 5.3. So I think he's just, taking himself from a negative player all the way to a positive player.
5 WAR for $7.5 million.
Should just retire now.
What a great deal. I mean, hey, I crap on Chris Getz all I want. I think when we were down in the winter meetings, when it got signed, I think it was like our last day there, like it's a pretty good signing right there. And it was probably the best signing of the all season.
Yeah, but then
for what you got.
Well, and our review of it at the time was okay. Like they didn't spend so much money, he could be good. Okay, like we had no idea what to expect from him.
No.
It was a dice roll until he went out there and showed what he could do, and he's been fantastic.
Yeah, and I'm still a little sour that they didn't get enough for him, but oh well. Also, Jason Beck, Detroit Tigers reporter from MLB, had this quote from A.J. Hinch on the Tigers' pitching plan for the Wild Card Series. Quote, "Our plan is Tariq Skubal tomorrow and pitching chaos the rest of the way." So there you go. The Tigers really don't have
that's
a plan.
fun.
Just happy to be here. I think that's the definition.
Going back down to Houston, too.
But like that worked for them for a month and a half.
They've done it to perfection.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're expecting to win the series. I mean, they should
pitching
be
chaos.
to win
That's
the series.
You could put that on the back of a Tiger jersey.
You could. Yeah, I don't know. Do you have faith in the Tigers, Kevin?
I do. Yeah, they're the hottest team going into the thing. I think they can win the series.
I would love for them to beat the Astros.
Big Mo.
But I don't see it happening. I think Tarek Skubal is going to shut down their lefty bats and now the rest of the bats in the first game. But when he leaves the game, hell's coming to breakfast.
National League side isn't finished, but do you have an American League pennant winner?
An American League pennant winner.
The Guardians.
Orioles.
I always pick the Astros, so I'll pick the Astros again.
Okay, I'm with Kevin. I'm gonna go Orioles. I think they have enough. I don't
They
know.
have been unimpressive to me.
I mean, but you have
for most of the
Santander
season.
hitting 40 bombs. You still have Adley and Gunnar. Like, I believe in these players.
Also, the Yankees have the best 1-2 hitting combination.
The Yankees would be my second
forever.
choice.
Yeah.
The Yankees have come up short a few years. They finally have the most devastating lineup in the AL. I think that they are probably my second choice. I just like the way the Orioles are built.
I feel like everyone
starting
besides
pitching is great.
Garrett Cole is going to be a pumpkin in that Yankees rotation.
But the only thing is, like, you saw teams last year complain about the time off. Like, man, we were playing on Sunday, we're playing well, and then we had 4 days off. And then it was hard to start the bats up again. So that's the thing you got to look out for teams that are getting the bye. They're grateful of having the bye, not playing this best of 3 series. That's stressful. But, like, as somebody said, I think it was the Braves said last year, like, you're facing 100-mile-per-hour pitches on Sunday, then you got to wait until Thursday or Friday to get your reps again. And that time in between, you can't replicate those things. You can't replicate 100 miles per hour in practice. And so it's hard to see the live bullets. And then when it is live bullets, like, oh, my God, these people have been playing. We haven't been. They're more in shape than us, and now we're down 0-1.
Isn't that what Jake Berger's eye pitch is all about? You know, like we could crank that machine up to 100 miles per hour, and hey, here's Garrett Cole's fastball. Hit it.
Enjoy.
And NL side, not done yet, but NL side.
You going Brewers? Really?
Yep.
They're
Churrio's fun, but I don't know if they have either the star
Yelich.
power or pitching. Yeah,
They've been winning.
they've been winning.
Contreras.
Contreras is good.
Padres, too, look very, very good right now.
I'm going to go with the Phillies. It just seems great vibes there. You have Nola, Wheeler, Ranger Suarez is a thing. You got even Sanchez as well.
I'm definitely impressed by more teams on the NL side.
Yeah.
Like, I could even see, even though they're pitching, who the hell knows what's going to happen. I mean, Ohtani could win that pennant by himself.
Ohtani could come back and pitch from what I'll be
He's
here.
not going to.
But I mean, does he come out to Hell's Bells? Just imagine 9th inning, Game 7 of the World Series.
If
Hell's Bells starts.
Throws that slider against Trout in the playoffs.
Ohtani pitching in the playoffs makes no sense for Ohtani or the Dodgers, but it would be the most entertaining thing imaginable.
And my whole dream scenario, and I don't think it's going to end up happening. Maybe it happens. If it happens, it'll happen in the offseason. But like, they're running out of pitchers. Oh, well, maybe we just take our dominant closer who has the power of Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, or whatever you.
Mjolnir, you're close. Yeah.
Maybe we just dust off of the old Michael Kopech and have him.
Michael Klospeck is going to go back to the rotation.
Hey, come on, let's go.
Wow.
Can you guys just imagine if the Braves were fully healthy too going into this NL race? If they had Strider and they had Acuna, how much fun the National League
they
would
wouldn't
be.
be.
They got to make the playoffs first. But
right.
Yeah, they wouldn't be in this situation right now.
Hey, last time this happened, they won the World Series. They didn't have Acuna, and that helped them. So yeah,
that's a good point. That's true. Yeah,
you never know.
Hey, they could just trade him away after they win the World Series this year. The White Sox need a player. We got some to send back. You want Garrett Crochet
and
Enjoy
Luis
yourself.
Robert Jr. for Ronald Acuna Jr. That's the baseline.
Bye. I mean, no, because the Braves be like, no.
Wow. I don't know.
Oh, the Braves would be like, no.
with that
Ronald's
contract,
tore his
Acuna-
ACL twice.
Have you seen Acuna's contract? They would laugh at that offer.
What,
man.
Acuna's?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. He's
It's
making
like
he's making like I'd say it was like an 8-year extension for like $100 million.
Yeah, I don't know who was it. Was it Anthropoulos
It's only
at the
12
time?
more than Luis Robert Jr.
Yeah, I don't know if it was Anthropoulos or the GM before, but whoever that is a genius / needs to go to jail, because we've discussed the Ozzy Albies contract where he signed 7 years for $35 million early in his career. I'm like, at the time it was a steal. Now it's criminal.
He's only 26.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
He's going to be 31 when he's a free agent. That's pretty nuts. All right, let's get into the final stuff here as we wrap up the CHGO White Sox podcast. Let's talk about the 3 biggest things that are going to happen this offseason for the Chicago White Sox. I will give us the first 2, and then I want you to finish out the final one. New manager, which is likely going to happen probably before the postseason wraps up, right?
Depends on who they want.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. Chris Getz has talked endlessly about how the search is going to be respectful of the teams currently employing their candidates. And if they are, dead set on wanting to interview a guy, or even is at the top of their wish list a guy who's coaching in the World Series, they got to wait. And so I think he said that he'd like to have it done by October, but certainly said that early November is a possibility. I think the thing that's strange is that this year you got basically no gap, like maybe a day between the end of the World Series and the start of the GM meetings. If they need to wait on somebody, that's a very small window to interview and then make your decision and then head on down to Texas. But I don't think that I would like to think that they would like it to go as quickly as they as it could, but I don't think it's necessarily going to, depending entirely on who's on their list.
Second, Crochet trade and monitoring that market. Will they, won't they trade Crochet? Maybe at the GM meeting something is laid out there. Chris Getz talking to somebody, and they figure out a trade there. What would be the third thing? What is the other part of this offseason that we should be looking forward to? Is it the Robert trade market? Is this maybe the idea that they do pull a loop and they bring in a president of baseball operations? Maybe not after Jerry's statement, but it's what I'd like.
I'm thinking about like the trade market, how they're going to assess that, because of what they did early November last year, where they traded Aaron Bummer away to get the 5 people they did, including one of our guests today, Nicky Lopez. Like, that's the moves I'm looking for Chris to make, like where, yes, people are going to either non-tender or these players need to get off the roster because of the 40-man. And so the White Sox get the bottom of the talent on different teams, which on their team will be mid-talent to upper talent. So improving the team incrementally, those type of things I'm wanting Chris Getz to get, because we're not going to be in the free agent market like that. So we need to be trading, not necessarily at the top of the market with Garrett Crochet. That will happen. But those mid-tier moves where you get in influx of talent, and yes, the talent 5-1 didn't necessarily show itself for the White Sox in getting Soroka, Nicky Lopez, et cetera, but I think it improved the overall organization incrementally, because you got players who are either MLB adjacent or actual MLB players. So that's what the White Sox need. They just need influx of talent on their team, because right now we see these players on their major league squad, 4A, some of them are major league players. They need more major league players on their team.
I think the answer for me has to be what Chris and even Jerry talked about in his statement that he released yesterday, and that's that stuff that's going on behind the scenes. It seems to me that the big priorities for Chris Getz, at least in the immediate, are working on things that aren't necessarily the major league roster, international scouting, player development, the analytics staff, all that kind of stuff that down the road is going to, the idea is that it's going to pay off big time. But right now, it's not going to be a press release that says White Sox sign player X or White Sox trade for player Y, but it's going to be as impactful, if not much more so. So we might not hear much about it, but if you're asking me what is the most important thing for the White Sox this offseason after hiring a manager, it's got to be continuing to address all of that stuff that's going on. We heard in some of those national reports about big, lists of changes that are being recommended to Jerry by other folks in the front office. I think that the makeover that Chris Getz has in mind here is much bigger than just 26 guys on a major league roster. And I think at the end of the day, if it's successful, that's the thing that White Sox fans will be the most excited about, because it will put them in a better position to have sustainable success rather than just pinning your hopes to a few guys and crossing your fingers that they don't get hurt. So I don't know if we're going to be talking much about it, because there's probably not going to be a lot of like newsy items, in that regard. But those are the things that are the most important for the White Sox with where they are in their rebuilding process right now.
I think, not to be goofy, I do think that this is going to be one of the bigger stories, is what happens with the 78, because we have seen Jerry be fairly consistent with his effort to flesh that out. We saw in, I think it was February, him going down to Springfield to talk with legislators. Then there was the meeting with Brandon Johnson as well, and now we see an actual baseball diamond with a fence, with that beautiful skyline view, and there's the tour bus or tour boat of investors and legislators and political journalists.
And Ron Kittle.
And Harold Baines going to see the new site. It doesn't seem like there's been much fanfare or much excitement over the 78, but I do think that Jerry will at least continue his efforts to try to get as much public money as possible for that next venture.
And that is the thing that we should look forward to. And I hope he does get some private money instead of the public money, and we'll meet him halfway maybe if he's going to be putting in some of that money. But as far as the manager and the 4 openings that are currently happening in Major League Baseball, I think the White Sox, while having the worst record in baseball history, or most losses in baseball history, it doesn't look appetizing. But think about the lack of pressure that's going to happen to the new manager, the resources that are going to be poured into this new manager, both with money and for time, because the White Sox, what do they've had? 4 managers in the last 4 years, maybe even more. So this next manager will probably have a longer rope for themselves, because he knows that the pressure to win is not there. Like when Pedro got here, the pressure to win was there in his face, and you were the guy. The next guy will like, there's no pressure. We're the worst team. We're in a rebuilding situation. So that person will know, like, I'm not going to just be here for 2 years. I'm going to have extended time, maybe 4-year contract, and maybe more money than available out in Seattle. Because once you get to Seattle, I'm damn sure that Jerry DePoto's like, we need to win now. Same, not necessarily in Cincinnati, but then the Marlins is the same damn thing every year. But here, you get to chill out and you get to have a good time and develop these players. And there's no expectation for you as the manager coming in to change this team from where they are right now to like a contender in the next couple of years. You're going to be smooth. So I think that the White Sox job, while might not be attractive to people just looking out from the outside in, I think somebody who's a manager and going to try to be a manager, especially like Skip Schumacher, that has had, his general manager go away and decided not to come back for next year, having a little bit more security, knowing where you're going to be, I think is very attractive for a potential manager.
Maybe. I don't know. I think at least Skip, it makes sense for at least Seattle, I think, to give him a shot, just because he does seem to be analytically driven, seems to be the hot name, and also they haven't made the playoffs in like 10 to 14 years. So if you're trying to just...
last year.
Yeah. Or they haven't won a game in like 10 to 14 years.
Yeah, they were quickly disposed of, but they did make it.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Skip went to Seattle. But they do need to find their Brandon Hyde. So I don't even care if they get like Skip Schumacher or the second or third biggest name out there, as long as they're getting somebody who does have the right makeup and baseline to take on this job and to see it out, like as Brandon Hyde's currently seeing it out. I think that will probably be the most important thing.
What about David Ross?
We're good.
Yeah.
Real good.
Really?
Was that serious?
Oh, real good.
Yeah, no, seriously.
We're real good. That guy doesn't. I mean, talk about analytics. I mean, I know he's a little bit more analytically based than what Joe Madden was, but he had to go kicking and screaming towards that way.
Yeah, he is analytically driven in a way, but not.
Yeah.
He's got a new head of hair.
So no.
He's on the posters when we go to
I
O'Hare.
think so. I saw him he went to Turkey. Got that new head of hair.
Oh, he's happy.
Yeah.
Like Ian Happ.
Yeah, exactly.
Brian Urlacher.
Hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel as we name all of the what's it called? What's that, Brian?
Restore
athletes.
No free ads. Restore. Give
Hey, I don't
money.
think Ron Kittle needs it. Anyways.
Eddie O, you forgot Eddie O.
Oh, and Eddie O. Thank you everyone for joining the CHGO White Sox podcast.
Come on, Andrew Vaughn, get there.
Hey, it's not a bad gig. I mean, you get your face on billboards. You get a brand new head of hair. It's not a bad idea. That's going to do it for the CHGO White Sox podcast. Thank you to Kevin Wells, our producer. Hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you subscribe to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. For Vinnie Duber, Herb Lawrence, I'm Sean Anderson. We'll see you tomorrow at 4 p.m. and goodbye.
We all silly like the mayor.